Greg, we have Lane and Mike back for another show.
We do?
Yes, we do.
What are we going to talk about this time?
Stick around and find out.
Well, welcome to Brew Talk with the Beer Guys. I'm Greg, along with Shane Zeppelin, our producer, and Brenton Anderson. Welcome. And our special guest, we've got Lane Wallace, the head brewer at Bobbing Bobber Brewing in Hutchinson, Minnesota, along with Mike Lauer. And thanks, guys. You guys have been here before.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
We love having you back. That's awesome.
You know,
We love being
what's nice is you guys are close by. Some of the other places we've talked to, it's kind of a long-range thing. We have to do them via Zoom or something like this. You guys right here in the studio here in Glencoe, Minnesota. We appreciate you making time to come over and visit with us. So
Absolutely.
yeah, excellent. Well, we've learned a lot in the past episodes about you guys and the beers at Bobbing Bobber, and we're going to dig in a little bit deeper into some of the science and some of the beers today. All right.
Well, yeah, and one of the beers they brought here today is a what?
What
Kolsch.
A Kolsch.
Kolsch.
Look at that.
Well, okay, that's a different thing. Now again.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll dive into this beer a little bit later. But
Yeah, that's okay.
on this episode, we're going to uncover a little bit more of the science behind the beers and maybe catch a glimpse of some upcoming brews.
Yeah.
So,
Delving into the fleshy underbelly.
that's right.
Oh, yeah, there you
That's
go.
right.
The underbelly of the Bobbing Bobber.
deep.
We got to bring Dan in sometime, maybe, huh?
Yeah,
He'd be interesting. Yeah, he's quite the character.
He'd be a fun guy to have on, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
I'll try to coax him.
Yeah, there you go.
He's kind of camera.
It wasn't so
shy,
bad.
Camera
Yeah.
shy.
By the way, in case you don't know, Dan's the owner of the Bobbing Bobber Brewery, and always an interesting guy. Does a heck every time I go there. That guy is the busiest guy around. He's cleaning tables. He's moving stuff around. He's welcoming people. He's got stuff. He's active.
Yeah, he's
busy.
He's
Yeah.
a busy guy. Yeah, man of many hats.
That's
It
awesome.
seems like he's always doing a lot of stuff involved with the community, setting up. He's got a shindig going on. He's got a block party. He's got a Halloween trunk or treat. He's got a Christmas thing. He's got car shows.
And
Wow.
food trucks. I mean, always a food truck. It
That's
seems
nice,
like.
and that's what's cool. So,
Yeah, it's
And,
nonstop.
but he couldn't have any of that without some good beer and some good brewers.
Right.
So, and that's why you guys
it's just all cogs in the gear. I guess.
Yeah, cogs in the gear. Yep, there you go. Or is it cogs in the beer?
Cogs in the beer. I got cogs in the beer too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. Well, you brought beer again. Again, we're talking about this Kolsch, and do you want to delve into that a little bit more?
Well, so Mike, I just want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What inspires you when creating a new brew?
Oh.
Wow.
We're getting right into it.
Getting right into it.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you go and do some tastings? Are you thinking about what the trends are, or what's the inspiration?
I mean, I can't not say the trends are important, but I think someone who is a pro brewer, I typically have an idea of how they went about making the beer. Not that I know exactly. I couldn't sit down and rewrite you your recipe, but I can go, oh, okay, so this is what I'm tasting, whatever. It's when I have a beer and I go, how on earth did they do this?
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, when I drink a beer, like I remember the first time I had Modest's Dream Yard. It's their flagship hazy.
Yeah, that's a good
and I
one.
was just like, how on earth did you do this? And then come to find out they have a unique system. And again, it was like one of those things where we can't recreate that. Or, but just it's those types of things when you have a beer and it just kind of like stops you cold, and then you go, well, I want to brew a beer like that. Like I want to have a beer. I want people to sit down at the bobber.
It
and-
excites you. I mean, it totally does.
Yeah, well, I mean, not to butter Lane's bread too much here, but when I had the
Butter away.
Right.
the gold medal winning Maibach, I remember I called him and I was just like, "How did you do this? Like this is unbelievable." I mean, I've had Maibachs before, and it's a fine. Like Maibachs aren't my favorite beer style, but when I had Lane's, I was like, "How did you do this? Like what?" And he was like, "I'm not going to tell you."
Not until you're on full.
Yeah, not tell you. Yeah. And now I can look at the
disclosure.
Yeah, I can look at the recipe myself. But that's what inspires me is when there's a lot of great beer out there, and I have beers, and I go, "Oh, this is a great beer." I love this beer. And then every once in a while you have a beer. Same thing, the Dangerous Man Peanut Butter Porter. I have no idea how they do it. It's like,
But it's good stuff.
it's good stuff.
It's dynamite.
It's
yeah.
dynamite. And it's
Really
just,
so.
yeah.
Huh. We got to check that one out, Brent, because I know you like peanut butter porters.
I enjoy those immensely.
Yeah. So it's that's what inspires me, is those moments when you are just like,
Yeah.
beside
And
yourself.
those are kind of rare.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And that's not to say we don't have. We're blessed in Minnesota. We have such an amazing beer scene, great breweries everywhere. But yeah, there's certain beers out there that just stop you cold. And
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Lane, how about you? What inspires you?
It's just, I mean, I just love making just great beer. You know, what inspires me is now is a lot more of just me and Mike just bouncing ideas off of one another and pushing the envelope on our process, our system. You know, and creating great flavors that. You know, it's just like, wow, I didn't think this was possible.
Sure.
You know, it blows your mind. I was actually up at Town Hall. This was a couple of years ago. I love Town Hall.
Oh,
Another great brewery. I don't know if you guys ever been.
I've been. Yeah, you've been to the well.
And
Love
me
Town
and Dan, it was 2 years ago, we were up at the CBC, the Craft Brewers Conference, and so it was hosted in Minneapolis. And we stopped and had a bite to eat at Town Hall, and they had their Maibach on.
Oh,
I'm always super critical. And I had it, I was just like, I mean, it's like, wow, this is good, you know. So yeah, they made it amazing. So it just kind of puts the fire under you.
sure.
You know, you're going around, you're drinking other guys' beers, and yeah, like Mike said, it just stops you in your tracks. It's like, how are they doing this? You know, even for me as a professional brewer, it's like you still have that moment.
You stumped me.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I just really want to get in your head and
Yeah. Huh.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's very interesting because it's from a brewer standpoint, because when you got to have a little pride and stuff to go out. Well, you know, I make a Maibach in this case. Wow, this is really good.
No, and I'm
Yeah.
always, you know, like I said, super critical, and I'm sure most
Sure.
brewers are.
You would
as
think,
a brewer, going to another brewery and, you know, having a style that you're pretty, you know, I'd say prideful of, and you drink it and you're like, wow, this is really good.
This is really
good. So yeah,
So then it fuels your creative process going, how can I improve? What did they do?
exactly. The gears are turning,
Yeah.
you know. And
On the flip side of that, and this isn't, nothing negative, but you ever brew something and you're thinking, "Oh, people are gonna love this," and then it kind of goes womp 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 womp, or it just doesn't take off, and you go,
that is a good,
"What?"
a very
Yeah.
validated question.
I mean, I would think.
Yes. The
I
answer
mean,
is yes.
yeah.
We've
When
had
you
a
wonder
few.
why. Well, what? I thought this was really going to go over, but it depends on the market too.
Yeah, it depends on the market, how it's sold, how it's marketed. I mean, we've had several. I mean, for me, I was pushing a Japanese lager for years and years, and we brewed that beer I think 3 times, and the third time we finally nailed it, and I was like, we did it, we got it. And then we're like, oh, it's still on tap. Oh shoot, you know. And I just one of those things where it was I thought we did a great job, you know.
Sure.
And yeah, I was like.
And that's not to say it wasn't good.
I was.
great.
We were proud of how that beer came out.
yeah.
How the beer came out, and it
Nice
just
and light, really light. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking like Coors Light type approachability. I mean,
Really, yeah.
that type of
and
beer.
it just that's just like one example for us where it just didn't
Wow.
didn't go.
It didn't gel. And
To piggyback on that, do you find that it's maybe the customers don't understand? They just don't know what that is, so they're not going to order it. Whereas if you could, and you know, copyright, if you would have called it Coors Light on tap, would they have bought it?
Yeah,
kind of
Bobber
thing,
Light.
right?
Yeah.
But that's actually what we called it.
Bobber Light.
We called it Bobber Light. Yeah, the Bobber Light. Yeah.
it's pretty light. I mean,
Yeah, you never. There's times also where as brewers, you know, we'll go into a brewery and have a beer, and we'll be like, "Wow, nailed it!" And we'll be chatting with one of their staff, and they're like, "Really?" Because this thing is not moving at all, and you're like,
Oh, sure.
how not?
Yeah, and it's just you never I'll go in and I'll be super impressed with the beer, and I'll buy a growler, take some stuff, you know, and they're like, you're like the only person that likes it. And I'm like, wow, that's why. You just never know, like, what's gonna.
Well,
I'm gonna open up my trunk and
you just never know what's gonna hit.
Right. Brett and I have both been to some breweries. We were just talking about this recently. We went to some breweries where I think we talked about this on another show. Is that you go in there and you try a bunch and you kind of go, and they go, yeah, this is our big seller, and we sell this and this and this and this. These are, and you just go, why?
Yeah, it can go in the inverse too.
So, that's their market though. So they're catering to their market.
And we're spoiled.
Yeah, well, there's that.
We're spoiled as being able to be adventurous, to try all kinds of things. So,
yeah, our palates.
We walk in there and like, oh, well, you said it was this, but
yeah.
But that's how life is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we never go, your beers aren't very good. I mean, you never do that because that's just not the way it is. But you just go, okay, well, not for me.
Yeah. For me, to expect a beer to sell itself, I just say yes to a certain degree, but there has to be, now with how big the craft industry is, there has to be a certain amount of marketing that's involved with it.
And I was going to mention that too. How much does the beer name play into the marketing of it? I mean, people, they like to try fun things, and so if the beer name is like super fun, they're going to try it.
Sure.
Now, I don't know if they'll repeat buy it, but I mean, how much does that play into, like when you're thinking of names of beers, of your whatever style or whatever brew you build.
Like Smiggle's Revenge?
Like Smiggle's, right? I mean, does it tend to get gimmicky, or do you don't go that far over the edge?
For us, most of ours are wrapped around, obviously, the fishing
fishing theme. Yep, right, makes sense.
We all know that. Yep. We still try to break outside our shell and name them different things. Try to make.
I get it. Breaks outside of your shell.
Not on it. That was unintentional.
But yeah, so I suppose you got to kind of you can't. You kind of run out of options at some point, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to catch the public's eyes, and whether that's them viewing the beer name, or in tasting, and it's like it's a full circle thing for sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Have you done collabs with another brewer? Collaborations, I should say. Collabs.
Collabs.
Yes. Have you done collaborations with another brewery?
Yes.
Okay.
We've done a couple. Our first one was with Excelsior.
Okay.
What was that? Yeah.
We did a seltzer, or not a seltzer, excuse me, a sour, not a seltzer.
Okay.
Sour.
Sure.
And that kind of what jump started, because we never really did a sour before, so we're like, really. So we did that, and that kind of what jump started our sour lines now. And then we've done a couple with Spilt Grains as well.
Oh, up in Annandale, Minnesota.
Yes, Annandale. That's been pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
We've also did a sour with them, and our latest one was our California Common.
Oh, nice.
Which for me, I mean, that's.
I like California Commons personally. I do like those.
I like the history behind them too, as well. There's a lot.
That plays into it, doesn't it?
It does. And a lot of people don't know that either. The history of the beer. Mm-hmm. Can't expect everyone to come in. Your average drinker and be like,
is this from Anchor Steam?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, to our audience, just explain a little bit of the history of the California Common.
California Common is they call it a steam beer.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they never had really any kind of good cooling methods to cool the wort, and they would pump them into these tubs up top of the roofs, and the beer would cool that way. Or wort, I should say, would cool that way and be steam just rolling off the roofs of these breweries.
Yeah.
And that's how it got its name, as a steam
beer.
Steam beer.
Yeah.
And same process, kind of like our cold IPA. They use lager yeast, and that's where the Germans are bringing their knowledge into the American styles and kind of just meshed. And they were using lager yeast and fermenting at the higher end of lager temps.
Okay.
And still be able to maintain that clean, crisp flavor.
Yep.
And really push that kind of American hop German malt profile to the forefront.
Okay, perfect. So when you do a collab, how do you decide what style to brew? Do you get together with the other brewery and then you decide, okay, we're going to do this together? Or do one of the other of you decide, you know what, they do a really good job at this, we're going to approach them How does that work?
Yeah, both. I mean, yeah, it can be. It can be both.
Okay.
Really,
yeah.
both. I mean, like the California Common, Jacob from Spoke Grains reached out to me, is like, looking at doing another collab. What are you thinking? And I'm more, I like the old world. Like, I like the history of beer as well.
Okay.
So to be able to bring that into it really excites me. So if we can do something really unique, like, pre-prohibition beer, like a pre-prohibition lager, or like a California Common is what we agreed on. So let's do a California Common. It's just, there's just so much history there that it's you don't hear of that stuff anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So to bring that into the craft as well is for me, it's super exciting, because you can talk more about like, well, this is just this is this beer, you can bring the history into it, and it's important as well. And we also do a grodziski. We've done a grodziski.
Yeah.
Who?
A grodziski is what it's called. It's a Polish smoked beer,
Oh.
and I think we've done it twice.
Yeah.
And
geez.
it's just one of those beers. It's you love it or you.
So it's like a Polish Rauk beer. Then. Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
Yep.
What was the name of that one, by the way?
A grodziski.
No,
The name of
the Bobbing Bobber name.
It's Polish Smokes.
Holy smokes. Okay.
Holy smokes.
Because I've had that.
I like it.
I just didn't know that was the style, but I've had the Polish
Almost
smokes.
has kind of a
That is-
sausage
yeah.
taste to it.
Yeah, it's going to
Yes,
be
it
more
does.
like
Yeah.
Could I
Yeah.
taste it? You were kind enough to bring me out a sample of that.
Yes.
Had a little of I thought, reminded me of like a German sausage or
Sure.
something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
meaty. Yeah, it's strictly just smoked wheat malt.
Yep.
Okay, that's definitely old world style, right?
That is
there.
definitely very old world, and they're again brought up a ton of history in that. I did a lot of reading, a lot of back history reading on it. And most of the reason that beer disappeared is during the bombings in the World War.
They couldn't produce the stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So there's
makes
a
sense.
lot of these beers were erased because of wars and what have you too. Which
It's nice to see those styles coming back because of brewers like you guys that are looking into these, old world or maybe, like you say, pre-prohibition type beers, and it's fun to get a taste of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what makes it super fun for us. It's just kind of like a love letter to those older style beers
Right.
that people just ultimately forgot about.
Sure. Well, getting a little bit of the science of this, of your brewing process, give us a few examples of like what hops might be used with different beer styles and why they're normally used that way.
Yeah, so I mean, most of our German beers we try to stick with the noble hops. It just kind of just goes with the class.
Yeah.
And as we, more of the American styles, like I talked about before, we use more of those C hops, the Chinooks, the Cascades, Centennial, CTCs.
Do you use Citra in there at all?
Oh, Citra is in that. It's
Yeah.
we use Citra.
Okay.
Yeah, we use
We're up to
all
our
that.
hips in citrus.
A lot of Citra. So for as much as we're moving now our house beer, Citra is one of the main hops in it, and we're actually contracting those hops just to stay ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually get a little better deal with bulk buy. And
Sure.
So that's your 2-row of the hop world for your brewing.
it is. You can call it that. It is the 2-row of the hop
Oh, really?
world
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, so the hop, with hops, if you want to get a little more sciencey, I'm not a scientist, but the two things that we look at first are the two types of acids, the alpha acids and the beta acids. The alpha acids are going to push the bitterness, and then your beta acids are going to push citrus fruity notes or whatever. So, and you extract those at certain temperatures. So we have Magnum is like and boy, a lot of breweries use it. It's just a very clean.
It's so clean.
It's a clean, high alpha, clean bittering hop, and you can use it you don't have to use too much of it to get a lot of bitterness out of it. Some brewers like to use lower alpha hops that have a lot of betas in it, and you can still get that bitterness, but because you use a lot of that with the beta, you can still pull a lot of fruitiness out of it and stuff. So noble hops are sometimes lower in just kind of everything. They're very neutral. So it just depends on what you're trying to what you're trying to create. If you're trying to get if you're trying to get a lot of bitterness, or you're trying to get a lot of flavor, if you're trying to get a lot of aroma, whatever you're trying to get.
I've got an interesting question because I don't. We try a ton of beers, obviously, with our show and everything. And sometimes, how do you know if a beer isn't at its peak? If it not that it's gone bad, but how do you know if a beer isn't? This beer is probably not good anymore.
Well, one big thing that, especially in IPAs, that stands out to me is paper, cardboard.
Yeah.
And we've had that.
Cardboard. It
tastes like cardboard.
Those volatile hop oils are not there to be exposed to a lot of oxygen or any oxygen at all. So whenever you're packaging a hoppy beer, you got to basically double down on your DO levels to make sure that you're just putting that beer on a bed of CO2, no exposure to O2.
Yeah.
And if it is exposed, depending on the level, will deteriorate faster or slower. So yeah, I mean, if you're drinking a hoppy beer, it's like, oh, this is, it smells like, opening a newspaper, cardboard. It's gotten high O2 pickup.
So that's not a profile that you look for then.
Typically,
Stay away from the newspaper aroma.
Okay.
You can also see like it gets sort of like a milky brownness to it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Not there's obviously dark brown beers are,
but there's a good brown versus.
But they're crisp.
Yeah. Right. And then for me, it's like it's stale. It's like it has like a dense, flat foam that you just can't get rid of, and then in that foam you just taste like, again, that paper bittery.
Right.
For me, it's like in the aroma, like paper cardboard. Yeah. Wet cardboard if it's really bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's good to know, because sometimes we've had some beers we've had around for a while. Hey,
yeah,
hate to see anything go to waste. Let's try it.
It's no fault of really the beer itself. It just could have been, you didn't drink it, and it's unpasteurized product, so you got it does have a shelf life.
Yeah.
Okay. What role do different yeasts play in the different beer styles?
I'll go first. You want me to go first?
Okay. Have at it.
So yeast, it's all in what you really want at the end of the beer. Like we discussed before. I mean, if you want something super dry, you got to go with a yeast that's gonna be highly attenuative. But at the same time, it's not only the yeast; it's on the hot side too. So if you want something super dry, you got to go with lower mash temps. Create more of those short sugars, and then the yeast will get at it a lot easier.
Okay.
So that's kind of how us as brewers, that's how we combat. It's not all about the yeast, it's what you're doing actually on the hot side too. That's why I say start from the end, pick your yeast, and then you can dial your process to tailor the yeast you're fermenting on.
Okay.
I'm a little more simplistic approach like that. It's just like, so if I want something like malty sweet, and I know I'm using a lower attenuating yeast, I'm probably going to mash a little lower as well, so I can get some of those simple sugars digested out and not make the beer cloyy or overly sweet.
Sure.
And vice versa. It's kind of a checks and balances.
Do you use different strains of yeast for different brews? I know some breweries might use the same strain for everything. Do you guys mix it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mike can elaborate more on that, but yeah, we more so than we used to. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this brief. Yeast is my favorite part of brewing.
It's your wheelhouse.
Yeah, there's the 4 primary ingredients, right? You got your water, your grain, hops, yeast, and all 4 are equally as important. And if you kind of skimp on any one of the sections, you're gonna have a bad time. Okay. But I feel like yeast. Well, the most overlooked thing in brewing is water, but in my opinion,
I can see that.
It's water, and then I think the second thing is yeast. A lot of brewers get obsessed with the hops and the grain, and for me, the yeast. Like if you're a home brewer, they always say like the biggest thing you can do to improve your beer is control the temperature of your fermentation. That's like the best thing you can do to clean up your beer or whatever. For me, the yeast is like that. it's like that final thing that drives the authenticity. It's like the difference between someone who can speak really well with an accent versus someone who's a native of that accent.
Okay.
It's like you can brew a good German beer without using a German ale strain, but when you have a German ale strain in your German beer, you're like, whoa, that's the big difference. And they push certain flavors. Like there's certain flavors that you can't get from anything but the yeast. The biggest ones are esters and phenols. And the easiest thing to say would be the phenolic flavor of like a Belgian wit. And you get that peppery, banana, clovey. Yeah. And it's like you can't get that from hops, you can't get that from grain, you can't get that from water. So when you have a style that relies heavily on the yeast strand, you need to do that. Now, there are styles that don't rely heavily on the yeast strand, and then in that instance, you need to use the proper yeast strand so that you don't push esters. So it's, to me, it's like that thing, that last piece of authenticity, and sometimes I feel like it's overlooked in the brewing world, but that's just me.
It can't. I mean, it was for me, and like, and you know, Mikey brought that
That's good.
that beautiful puzzle piece to the table.
Yeah.
As me, I was just like, yeah, whatever, right? You know, it's just like I was more malt and hops, you know, balance, things like that. And you know, don't get me wrong, I like a good wit. We've done wits prior.
Yeah.
And you know, once you start diving into it, I mean, these yeast strands they're very unique, and yeah, if you want to make something unique, you need to make it, you know, with a unique yeast strand.
We've talked. You know, we've like, I like Hefeweizens. You're not crazy about them, but you like certain ones. And
Same with me. I like certain
yeah.
side of it. Not,
So what do you like?
Question,
banana?
guys.
The banana. Okay.
Kind of Hefeweizens.
I like the clove.
You like the clove? You like the banana?
I like the banana.
You like the banana?
My wife likes the clove.
Yeah.
Sure.
She likes Hefes all the time. You know, she loves those.
So those are the phenols.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Esters. Yeah. So the last Hefeweizen that we did, there's a yeast strand out of Omega called Bonanza. And it's just like it's no clove. It's just pure banana.
Ooh.
So it actually,
You guys are all over it.
Yeah, and
I would like it too, but
yeah, and then but there's also yeast strands that are going to push more of that clove, and then even into like a white pepper.
Well, and I think over the years too, I've tried to try more of them, and be more open-minded to them. Mm-hmm. And my palate has adjusted a bit. But I still like that side of things, the banana side.
You like it too.
Well, and I like clove in beer in the wintertime. Yeah. Because it's kind of a Christmassy kind of a holiday theme.
Sure.
But then in the summertime, I'm not looking for that at all. And then when it hits me, it's like, okay, I'd rather have the banana.
Okay.
So
I mean, like I said, I saw some of the comments when you guys posted when we were supposed to be on. You know, what do you want to talk about? Someone actually brought up,
Hefeweizen,
right?
And I'm like, I mean, we did.
That's a tough style to brew.
I mean, it's it's not solely yeast, you know.
Oh, that every beer is, it's you got to know what you're doing with each ingredient.
It's processed too, so you can push different phenols and different esters in how you pitch your yeast, cell count wise, versus how you oxygenate the yeast, temperature.
Time.
Sure.
So, I mean,
I think the bottom line is there's a lot more than meets the palate.
absolutely.
There's a lot of things going on there. So.
Yeah, and there's advanced ways to do it, and there's riskier ways to do it, and there's also there's nothing wrong with using a predictable yeast strain at a predictable temperature, because that's a great way to go about brewing too, to ensure that you know what you're doing in your other parts of your processing. Because when you there was one beer that we brewed that we tried a new yeast strain and we got a little overexcited with it, and it didn't turn out the way that we thought it was going to turn out.
I mean, it's if you're going to change variables, change one.
And then we did some post production work on it, and people loved it. And we were like, "They're like, you going to brew it again?" And we're like, "No,
probably not. Huh?
Probably not."
Yeah.
So
yeah, interesting.
So I guess just a couple last quick questions on the science behind the beer, but. I guess first question is, is there any innovations in hop or anything like that to draw more flavors out, or are there any innovations in brewing altogether that are going to change maybe kind of the way you brew?
Let's go
Yeah,
with the flavors going forward.
The big one right now that you'll see it's called Nectaron, and it's like a powder that people are using, and it's like it's sort of like a powdered form of hops that is going to be less bitter, more, you guys' favorite word, more of that stone fruit, citrusy flavor, and so you'll see it like especially if you're going into the Twin Cities or wherever you're from, into a bottle shop that's going to have a lot of craft brews in it. You'll see, it'll say IPA with Citra, Nelson, and Nectaron, and that's
Nectaron.
Nectaron. Yeah. So I mean that, and then otherwise just
you get your cryos. I mean, everyone's
cryos. I said
cryos have been around for a little bit,
Yeah,
but they've been kind of like on a hot streak. Yeah.
Hop oils.
Hop oils.
So you had bitter inside hop oils. I mean, people are breweries are looking to add them still those awesome flavors and aromas and cut down on waste that vegetal matter brings into the pitcher.
Yeah,
and it's all about dollars and cents at the end of the day. Especially with some of these bigger breweries, they want their cake and eat it too, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
So I think the innovation is more geared towards the hops and just kind of trying to cut out that vegetal point of it,
vegetal loss,
and getting maximizing barrel production.
Okay,
for sure.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about this beer that we're drinking.
Real quick. What is this beer? I know you said it was a Kolsch.
This is our capsize.
Capsize Kolsch from Bobbing Bobber and Hutchinson. And what's the ABV?
About 5.2.
Okay.
5.2.
Very sessionable.
Very sessionable as well.
And IBU on it?
Very light, 1920.
Sure. Yeah. You would expect
just
that.
there to balance, really.
Nice, easy drinker. What'd you say, Brent?
Yep.
Yeah. It's nice. I could see it. This is a good entry level beer for a lot of people that are trying to move into the craft beer world.
Oh yeah,
they're coming out of their whatever light blah blah blah.
Still like the malts I'm picking up on it.
Malt, yeah.
And that's our favorite part of this beer. I mean, I'm the malt. I love malt, so I really just focus on malt on this beer because that's what this beer is really about.
Really, yeah.
And then the hops are just there to balance, and the yeast kind of does its thing and stands out. Maybe adds a little character to it, and kind of ramps it. For me, it just bumps up that very German Munich character of the malt. It just amplifies it.
Yeah, and then a good neutral water profile.
Very neutral, nothing fancy,
and a very floral hop. So it's like Kolsch's. Sometimes people don't realize that they might think of skunkiness, like a little bit of a skunk aroma, like aroma, right? Can a skunk have aroma?
Yes.
Right. But you get that.
Can they not have aroma?
Right?
Yeah, right.
So a very light skunk, it might remind you of that.
Sure.
And this has that, but it's lighter than other Kolsch's I've had. So which is really good because that, some people will find that off-putting.
Sure.
But if a really good Kolsch that's done well doesn't have as much of that.
Right, it's just there. It's in there. To me, it's more of a Pilsner quality.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's more of a.
I think that comes from the noble hops, doesn't it?
It can, and how you package it too.
Yeah.
Green bottles will shove skunkiness.
Well, I think about like a Heineken. You open that and it smells skunky.
And that's probably part of their marketing packaging. They want to shove that into that beer.
Grassy and
so if you light strike it a little bit, it'll push that skunk to a certain extent.
So much going on.
Well, all right. One last fun question.
Oh, well, you always have to ask one of those, don't you, Shane?
We end this with a fun question. So each of you think of this. Think of a beer that you like, that you brew, right?
Sure.
All right. Describe your favorite 3BC beer using emojis. What would they be and why?
Good luck. Wow. What emojis, huh?
All right.
Those are those picture things, Greg?
Oh,
yeah.
Back when I was a kid, we didn't have no damn emojis.
Emojis.
I'm not really familiar with a whole lot of emoji.
Yeah, I'm the lone millennial here, and I'm still not that
familiar
with emojis.
Come on, we're counting on you, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Would it be the
smiley face? Or the sunglasses
thumbs up.
one,
Well, obviously, yeah.
Sunglasses.
I mean, So the
Shane came up with this. Just this
Yeah,
is Shane's question.
Yeah, it's totally just
So
ball on us here.
my my favorite beer that we've ever made was the oatmeal stout.
Oh,
I love oats.
Because I love oats.
Does not
Okay.
even smell
Yeah,
as me.
Perfect.
So I don't know, like the moon because it's a dark beer.
Oh, there you go.
Sunglasses because it's the coolest beer.
There you go.
There you go.
And is there like a chocolate
Chocolate bar emoji.
chocolate bar emoji? Yeah,
Perfect.
I love that. That one, I love that one.
All right. Any last questions, Brent?
No, I don't have anything more.
Yeah.
Well, Lane hasn't done his emojis yet.
Oh, you
I
do?
mean, this is going to be a tough one.
I was trying to let Lane off the hook. There.
Oh, sure. I won't.
I think
Of course
as
not.
far as uniqueness, I mean, it was one of the beers that me and my sister did when she was out there. She wanted to do something unique do like a cocoa brown or
Oh.
cocoa stout.
Remember that one?
Yeah. It wasn't really dark enough because we were playing around doing like pre-mashing with dark malts and pulling that word, blah blah blah. Anyways, it was long story long, but I mean that was a fun beer. Or it was a cocoa brown. So yeah, I mean I gotta go with the like chocolate bar all day long.
Okay. Perfect.
It was super cocoa-y. I mean it's actually. I mean, if you look on tap, it's one of our most highest rated beers.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was on,
And the marshmallow in it. And
That was we both went. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
That was good.
You gotta brew that again.
The
Come on.
cocoa. You
Oh,
gotta
see,
brew.
any packaging engineer would say, nope, we're never brewing that beer.
Oh, really?
Cleaning the fermenter after that.
Oh,
man.
really?
Yeah, I was like,
But it was a fun beer. And, it's good to have that feedback. We might have to kick that one back because it was well taken.
That's one of the ones that we talked about one time when he said, "Hey, they got that chocolate marshmallow one, whatever that is." Oh, got over it. Oh, I missed it.
Cocoa brown.
Cocoa
It was
brown?
supposed to be a cocoa stout, but we just like, it wasn't really dark
We
enough.
didn't get stouty enough.
Yeah, we didn't get
Okay.
stouty
Yeah.
enough on it. We did something unique with that one. I mean, we were just playing around, and I mean, it was a great beer.
Cool.
Well, very good. Well,
All right.
we kind of run out of time for this episode.
Yeah.
I suppose we should wrap this one up, and we look forward to visiting 3BC and having some brews, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Love
All
to
right.
see you there.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
and maybe
Thank you.
you guys want to come back again, you're welcome anytime.
We'd love to.
Love to.
Right.
It's
That
been a
was fun.
blast.
Very
Yeah,
informative.
been a
I
blast.
hope the fans got a lot of that. And if you have questions, you can let us know. We can ask them next time at just drop us a line below or at beerguystv@gmail.com. And otherwise, that's going to wrap it up for this one. For Brewmaster Lane Wanis and his lovely assistant. Gotta love that one.
Yeah, Michael Vanna White Lauer. That's what they called me.
There you go. And for Brent and for producer Shane, I'm Greg. And until next time,
Beers to ya.
Think. There we got it now. Oh, this is very, very, very easy thing.
Beer Guys TV reminds you to drink responsibly. Our reviews are honest opinions. Your opinion and taste may vary. We encourage you to try beers and products for yourself and form your own opinions. Remember to check out Beer Guys TV on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what beer you like and send us your suggestions for us to review. You can contact us at beerguystv@gmail.com.
So the Main Street Sports Bar here.
Yeah.
I swear to God, they are running their beer through ice. It's like so cold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So the last time I had the Kolsch there, it was like 31 degrees, and I was like, "Are you sure this is our Kolsch?" Like, and then like 20 minutes later, warmed up, and I was like, "Oh, this is our
that's
Kolsch."
the other thing
Okay,
I think
but it
people
was
don't
so
realize.
cold. Like,
People don't realize that there is that temperature swing for beers.
Oh, yeah.
You get an IPA that's too warm and it's undrinkable.
oh yeah,
And you get a
like,
a
if
stout that's
if
too
I'm drinking
cold,
hams-
you can't drink it.
Right.
Yeah, you
Well, you want that ambiance.
Exactly.
but like hams, I need hams as cold as you can possibly serve it.
Oh, right.
Ice,
Yes,
ice,
yeah.
yeah. Slushed.
Thank you guys for your time.
Yes,
My ride is outside waiting.
yes, appreciate it.
Brent?
Change
Have
and grab rain weather attire.
Sure.
Oh,
It's supposed to rain out.
Hope
Yeah.
to hear your band play sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah, they're really good.
Stand-ups.
Yeah, the stand-ups. All right, I'll look into it.
Yeah.
Thank you once again. I appreciated all those beers. They were wonderful.
Yes, well, thank you.
I had a good time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
Great.
Yeah, go.
Appreciate you coming. Thanks,
Well, have
thanks
fun.
for the Cool.
Not a problem.